what's on the line this week, what is on the line in the second half of the schedule. I'll bring that up here right now. Washington, Saturday at home. You have a chance to avenge a loss from last year when you went out west again and laid a bit of an egg. You are going to be favored in 5 of these 6 games before Ohio State. The Washington game, you're a 6-point favorite. Michigan State, you're probably going to be a double-digit favorite against a team that if they don't fire Jonathan Smith before then, you might have a chance to embarrass them, so they do fire him. Purdue is terrible. Northwestern is going to be a pain in the rear end, but that's going to be a pseudo home game for you at Wrigley Field. Maryland looks better than they have been, but they are, it's still a game that you should win and you'll be favored to win. So for me, I look at this Saturday and there's a reason we asked the question at the start of October. Like, guys, you got out to a similar start last year. You were 4-1. Things started to stagnate from there. And everyone we talked to said, it's not going to stagnate. This is different. This feels different. It feels a little stagnant right now. Coming off of a bye week, the week of September 27th, you come out, you play a game against Wisconsin, which, if we're being honest, probably should have been a name your score type of game, but they were rusty and didn't make, another game that's been a characteristic of this year, sans the CMU game, is that it was closer than probably the score indicated. And then you come out on Saturday, you make a big deal about going out west a day early, and I think what I'm learning here is that it doesn't really matter when you leave for out there if you're not going to be ready to play. And this game on Saturday, it's more than just a get right spot. It is, I think, your season and the trajectory of your program. I don't want to overstate it, but if you're sitting here at 4-3 after Saturday as a home favorite against a team in Washington that is good, has some really good pieces, but you'll be playing a 9 a.m. body clock game for those guys. I think that some of the message board freakouts and I'll say even borderline over dramatics will become a lot more justified.
Yeah, 100%. And this is a game you have to win at home. And I think with a 5.5-point favorite, I'd be disappointed if they didn't come out with their best effort after that. But the concern here, there are some weaknesses on film now, right? That teams with good quarterbacks and with inventive offenses can exploit because they are making some of the same mistakes in run fits and things like that over and over again. We saw the screen game. We know Jed Fish is a great, very innovative play caller at Washington's head coach. So it's going to be, they're going to have an opportunity to put points on the board. Now, they started slow at Maryland before they scored 24, I think, in a row to win there. Number one, how about you not give up a touchdown with like 1/3 down the whole time to start the game? That would help, right? Get them off the field if they get the ball first or on their first drive. Don't let them drive the field and score and seize the momentum. And then you feel like you're in for a game, right, when that happens. So, but yeah, the concern to me is Damon Williams Jr., who Clay's been loving for a couple of years. This kid can play. And what do you have, 500 yards of offense last week? Something like that. That's Denard Robinson-esque. So if you lose contain like you did have really in a lot of the big games or this year, you're going to have an issue. And this kid's going to make you pay for it. They've got a good running back as well. You should be able to put up points. That's, of course, that's what everybody said against USC too, right? Is that, hey, this could be a track meet. And I even predicted 31-27 USC. I thought there would be a lot more points scored by Michigan, but clearly that didn't happen. So you don't know when you have a freshman quarterback too, who made some key mistakes in that USC game. He's not perfect either. He just turned 18 years old. And for as good as he's been, and he has been, and he's going to be a great quarterback here, he's going to be playing in the NFL. He is still a freshman, and he made some freshman mistakes, not throwing the ball away, getting out of field goal range in one of those those early drives. So they're going to have to run the ball. I do think Justice Haynes will be back. From what Sherrone said and from what we've heard inside the building, they need him. Jordan Marshall is not the back that Justice Haynes is. Regardless, though, guys, what you've got to do is find a way to get back to playing good fundamental football. The fits have to be right. The coverage, the guys have to be in the right place so you don't have receivers running wide open. You know, you're late to a seam route. You're not handling your responsibility. That's what good football teams do, and that's what they need to do and continue to improve these next 5 games to have a shot against Ohio State. And everybody's going to say, oh, it's Ohio State, so on and so forth. Ohio State's got a good football team. If Michigan doesn't improve, continue to improve, Ohio State's going to win that football game pretty handily in November. There's a lot of time between now and then. These guys can improve before then, but they got to get the basics down. And to me, that's been the biggest disappointment.
Yeah, I think there's a ton on the line, obviously, this week and the rest of the way until you play Ohio State, because you can't lose any games if you want to make the college football playoff for the Big Ten championship game. But more importantly, you just have to get better day by day, fix a lot of the mistakes, as Sherrone Moore said, fix them ASAP, and move forward. Now, all these, whenever we have topics like this, all the hypotheticals seem to go, well, if you don't, then this. Well, if they do, and they bounce back and they beat a pretty good Washington team at home, then you do look at the rest of the schedule. And of course, it's a big game against Michigan State, and it's a huge game. It's a bigger game for Michigan State, typically, all things equal, than it would be Michigan. But in the spot Michigan's in, with actually, some goals to play for after potentially beating Washington, the Wolverines will understand what that one would mean for the rest of their season, and they could see a light at the end of the tunnel here. Then, I think you're in an okay spot with this schedule. I've said it since the summer. I mean, I think the schedule sets up pretty well, and the football gods gave them one after what was a gauntlet last season. So there's still a chance here to stack a lot of wins. Washington, Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland. I mean, it's not murderer's row at all, but you have to get a lot better while you're winning to compete with Ohio State at the end of the season, because that Ohio State team looks ridiculously good right now. I think they're number one in the country, and by quite a big margin right now. I think Miami has a case for that as well. Hell, Indiana may have a case for that when it's all said and done. That's a legit Indiana team on another level, and you don't play them. So that certainly helps.
Okay, and Clay, how many top 100 defensive players on defense for Indiana this year?
I'm not exactly sure. I haven't dug into that.
Yeah, well, it's not a lot. I'll tell you that.
Probably.
They had a couple first-team All Big Ten guys come back.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But
D'Angelo Pounds could be.
So
Aiden Fisher could be.
Right.
Yeah. So they have some high-end talent, but they also are really well coached and play together extremely well. And you mentioned the screens. I mean, we talk about it for years, and we talked about it, I remember last year, talking about the good shit Jed Jim Harbaugh gif, comes from, I think, the BYU screen, the pump fake left, pump fake right, and then Khalid Hill was wide open over the middle. He's a great screen coach. Jim Harbaugh used to talk about that. And the numbers that back up what you're talking about, Chris, is DeMond Williams Jr. on screen passes this year, 30 for 30, 328 yards and 2 touchdowns, 10.8 yards per attempt. It has yet to be stopped, right? I mean, people have tackled them 28 times, but 2 times they've gotten into the end zone, and they're averaging 10.8 on those. So you're going to see those this weekend. Improve that you can stop it. And if you're going to blitz 63% of the time, whether or not PFF has that number accurate or not, because I know Wink Martindale, has contended that those numbers on some of the analytics sites aren't correct. But either way, it was very, very high. They didn't seem to adjust, so they're going to have to get a lot better and be more prepared for this game. But, Washington has not fared well under Jed Fish on the road, especially in the Midwest. Really, the teams other than Oregon on the West Coast have not fared well in the Midwest. So, you have a shot here to get a big win and get the vibes back. And there's no team on the schedule, to your point, Anthony, about the point spreads going forward. There's no team that really scares you other than Ohio State. And they don't scare you as much as they would scare a regular team, because so many guys on this roster have beaten them repeatedly over and over. Hello to the Buckeye listeners out there.
And there are a few of them in there. I've seen them in the comments. This game Saturday, it feels like a college football playoff elimination game. Washington comes into this game at 5-1. Now they're scheduled. They played Ohio State. That's their one loss. But we talk about runway. After they play Michigan, if they find a way to get this game, they're going to host Illinois. They're going to play Wisconsin and Purdue. They're going to play a UCLA team that, it's been fun for them the last few weeks, but it's still an interim head coach of one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. And they close things out with Oregon at home. So there's a ton on the line for them. And Michigan, same deal. 4-2. You get this win on Saturday. You're 5-2. And then you go into 4 games that you won't just be favored in, but if you're any good, you win by multiple scores. That is what's on the line on Saturday. And that's if you don't do that, then you're sitting at 4-3. And I don't like to do the either or thing, but in terms of, we talk about these pivot point moments or these pivot point games, this, I don't want to say it's the season's teetering by any stretch, but depending on the outcome of this game, it really could go either direction, because I don't know if they're well coached enough to dig themselves out of a 4-3 hole. I don't know if they're mature enough to deal with multiple losses in a row. Like, I do think there are some maturity questions still with this group. But the best way to grow up is to learn together and to win and put that stuff behind you. But 6 weeks into it, I'm not crazy about it. I think that there have been some good highs. I think that there are individual things that, if any of it comes together sequentially, you're going to be a pretty good football team. But I have question marks about that. So any other thoughts on what's ahead?
Let me ask you guys this. Against Power 4 teams since the beginning of the year to now, where has Michigan gotten better?
They haven't.
Maybe run blocking a little bit, but Oklahoma was just a good team, so maybe not, right? Maybe that was just the best front you'll see.
Yeah, and that's the Ohio State. That's the problem that I have. You want to see continued improvement throughout the year, and we could talk about injuries on the offensive line. You get your supposed best offensive lineman back, and you get worse. So
he was their worst offensive lineman by far on Saturday, by the way.
And that's not okay. Let's be honest here, guys. That's not okay, and this is not a meritocracy. If you're playing your worst when other guys have played better, then it's not a meritocracy. So, but to me, that's been one of the major issues is offensive line development. I don't think there's a ton of talent there. I think there's enough talent to be better than they are. Just do the right thing, for God's sake, and you're going to be better, right? Block the right guy. So that's been a major issue. I think the linebackers have been somewhat of a disappointment at times. I'll be honest, whether it's being in the wrong place, taking wrong angles, wrong fits, pass coverage. So that was supposed to be what carried this defense. And Wink Martindale said it. We need to play to our strength, which is our linebackers this year, and the defensive line. They haven't been good enough either at times. So very disappointing so far, but again, the narrative can change like it did last year. Well, everybody was ready to throw dirt on the grave, and they won those last 2 games of the year and changed the entire narrative of the season. I'll never forget when Sherrone Moore went into Chrysler Center for a basketball game, and he got a standing ovation after a 7-5 season because they beat Ohio State, right? And so he did the flag planting. He did the flag planting thing. That didn't hurt either. So, but
you're right.
Yep, but to me, there's still opportunity to change the narrative on the season, but they have got to do the basics and get back to it here and win these next 5 games convincingly. I don't want to think about it. If they went up to East Lansing and laid an egg and lost up there, he would lose literally 3/4 of this fan base, in my opinion, in year 2 if that were to happen. So one at a time, obviously. Washington's a good football team, solid football team anyway. That's a team that you have to beat at home and that you better beat at home, flat out, frankly.
Mm-hmm. And if you win the next 2, you bank, some goodwill. And, the Michigan State win last year, as much as Michigan State was not a good team and they didn't make a bowl again, it's been a long time since they made a bowl game. That helped. It would have been an absolute disaster had they lost that game, and they didn't. And then, of course, you come back and beat Ohio State. That's why he had any goodwill at that point in the game against Iowa at Chrysler when he got that standing ovation. So, yeah, I think that's kind of where they're at. But my question with where have they gotten better, there may be some areas, but you're just seeing like some good, some bad, some good, some bad. It's not consistent.
It's like whack-a-mole. It's like you fix
exactly.
one thing and something else pops up.
Well, it's like to that point, Anthony, it's the tackles were the problem against Wisconsin, and then it's back to the interior against USC. And, it's just like you said, if it's not this, it's that. So, but at the same time, if you're Michigan, stay together, continue to improve and work at improving, I guess I should say. And again, like your goals are in front of you. So it's not like it's completely over, but I just feel like they haven't played that game against a Power 4 team that you feel like they played really well. They've played okay, right? And then you play okay against Wisconsin, and it's like, well, if they didn't do this or short yardage or whatever, penalty here, whatever it was. And then you see Wisconsin get killed by Iowa 37-0. The game's non-competitive after the opening minutes. it's kind of like, okay, well, Iowa had their day. Like Michigan hasn't had that day yet. And I guess if you never have it, then you're not very good. I happen to think this team has a higher ceiling than what we've seen. So, you got to hold out hope. And if you're in the building, you got to work like hell to make sure that happens. But if you're a fan, you can hold out some hope that there's a lot of talent here. A lot of guys have proven some things in the past. That day can come, and it could be Saturday.
And it's not enough to just wear the hard work jacket to the press conference. You got to put the hard work in. You got to get these guys back focused, because I think this game is all these games are incredibly important, but coming off a loss that looked the way it did, this is a look in the mirror moment. Oklahoma, again, kind of chalked that one up to being a young team week 2. That was week 7, and that was the third road game you've played. So a lot to work on there as well.